Okay, in the first video, we learned the basics of elimination and what the steps were to eliminate. And we did it where the problem just automatically eliminated an x or a y. But now let's look at if I were to add these two equations together. Notice that these don't just automatically eliminate. If you go back to the problem that we previously did, these two numbers ended up eliminating. And that's because the 3 is positive and this 3 is negative. And when I do a 3 and a negative 3, that cancels to 0. So we want them to be opposites of each other. And right now, these two are not opposites of each other, and neither are these two. So then we have to ask ourselves, what can I multiply by in either the top or the bottom equation so that either x or y eliminates? So let's just pick one. It doesn't matter. Well, let's try and eliminate our y's. So, what can I multiply either by 3 to get to be 6 or 6 to get to be 3? And I would avoid fractions. I would always multiply by whole numbers. So, I could multiply this top equation by 2 because 2 times 3 gives me a positive 6. And I know a positive 6 and a negative 6 are going to cancel each other out. So, we're going to multiply this 2 by everything. So, I'm going to come down here. That's going to become negative 20x plus 6y equals 2. And then I'm just going to rewrite the bottom equation. We have negative 5x minus 6y equals 23. So when I add these two together, 6 and negative 6 cancel. So if I add my x's, that gives me negative 25x is equal to, and 2 and 23 give me 25. So then I divide by negative 25 on both sides, and x is negative 1. So there's one of my answers. But now that I know x, just like we did in the previous video, I can come back up here and plug x into one of these equations. So I'm just going to pick one, and let's just plug it into this top equation here. So we have negative 10x plus 3y equals 1. And since we just found x to be negative 1, I can take this negative 1 and I can plug it in for x here. So I'm going to have negative 10 times negative 1 plus 3y equals 1. When I multiply that together, I get 10 plus 3y equals 1. I need to subtract 10 on both sides. So I get 3y equals negative 9. And then I need to divide both sides by 3, and I get y equals negative 3. So there's our other answer. And remember that your answer to a system is the ordered pair in which they meet. So the ordered pair here, x is negative 1, y is negative 3. So that means if I were to graph those two lines on Desmos, they would intersect at negative 1, negative 3. And there's your answer. So now let's look at problems where we end up getting either a no solution or an infinitely many. So if you look at number 1, if I were to add these two equations together, they are not set up to eliminate right away. So we have to ask ourselves, what can I multiply? And let's try and get rid of the x's. So if I want to get rid of x's, I would have to multiply this by 6. So that becomes 18x minus 6y equals negative 12. And then I'm just going to rewrite the top equation. We get negative 18x plus 6y equals 24. But what happens when I do this is my x's ended up eliminating, and so did my y. So since both of them eliminated, I get 0 equals, and negative 12 and 24 is 12. And we know that 0 does not equal 12. So this actually is going to be, because that's not true, a no solution, which means that these lines, if they were graphed in Desmos, would be parallel lines. So this is a no solution problem.